Hi, so today I'm gonna have a look at an easy Sudoku. So let's see what the board looks like. Okay, so in Sudoku, if you don't know, every big square, so there's 9 big squares, has to contain the numbers 1 through 9, so one number per little square. And in addition, each row and each column must also contain the numbers 1 through 9. So you can't have any repeats within a big square, a column, or a row. So when I'm starting out, I normally will go through the numbers one by one and I'll look at the rows and columns first. So for example, in the very left row, you can see the one that starts with the 5. I said row, I meant column, sorry. So the column that starts with 5, 6, and then goes space, 4, space, space, 1, 9, 3. So in that column, we're missing the numbers 2, 7, and 8. So we have to work out where they go. So on this one, I've just tapped this little pencil, which lets you basically make notes. So in this square that's highlighted, we know that it's either going to be 2, 7, or 8, and we can do the same here and here. Now, if you look at the first box that I highlighted and go along the row, you'll see that that row contains a 7. So we want to remove 7 from the options there. And we'll come back to them. Okay, so next column is only got 2 numbers in it, so I'm just going to skip that. Normally, I would look for rows and columns that have 4 or less gaps. So I'm going to skip the column, the third column as well, and the fourth column, and I'm going to go to the 5th column, this one starting with the 7. Because that one's only got 3 gaps. So on that column we're missing 2, 5, and 8. Okay, so this time I'm going to look along the row first before making my notes. And we can see that this row already contains a 2 and an 8. So that means that this one has to be the number 5. So then the remaining 2 gaps are either 2 or 8. So let's put that in our notes. 2, 8, 2, 8. Check the rows. Can't see them in either of the rows, and I can't see them in either of the squares, so we'll leave those for now. Skip this column because there's way too many gaps. Skip this column because there's way too many gaps. And go to this column. Right, this column we're missing 3, 4, and 5. And in this first square, we can see that within its big square, it's already got a 3 and a 4. So we know that that's the number 5. Okay, looking down then, these have to be 3 or 4. And in this row, there's already a 4, which means it must be number 3, leaving just 4 remaining. See, so that column is completely done. Last column has got 4 squares. Okay, so we're going to do that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're missing 5, 7, 8, and 9. We can see that in the big square, we've already got a 5 and 8. So this one must be 7 or 9. And there's already a 9 in the row. So this one must be 7. Okay, moving down, we've got 5, 8, and 9 remaining. In the big square, we've got an 8 and a 9, so this must be the 5, which leaves 8 and 9 for the bottom 2. We've got an 8 in that row, so that's the 9, and that leaves 8. So you can repeat that again along the rows. What you can also do is you can also look at it within the squares. So for example, in this square with the 8 in the top left corner, we can see that that's missing a 1 and a 7. So we can pop that in little notes here. And what that means is when we're coming back to this column later, we know that these other spaces in that column cannot contain a 1 or a 7 because they're already allocated to these spaces within that square. Okay, so another way that you might like to do it is to, for example, start off with the number 1 and quickly scan the rows and the columns to see if there's an immediate spot that they can go in. And I'll just see if I can find an example of what I mean. Okay, so for example, in this big square, the number 7, it can't go in this column, that's already got a 7 there. It can't go in this column, that's already got a 7 there, which means that this gap must be a 7 because it can't go in the other 2 spaces. We can also now then look at that big square and go, well, this must be also a 2 and an 8 to go with the 2 and an 8 that's just next door to it. So we're starting to build up little patterns. Okay, let's have a look at the bottom right square. So this is missing the 4 and the 5. And if we look at the bottom row, this one's already got a 4 in it here. So we're gonna pop the number 5, take the notes off, put the 5 in there and the 4 above it. And that whole square is now done. If we look here, this row now only has 1 space remaining, which means we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, we're missing 5. So that's the number 5, that row is done. This square here, we're missing 2 and 7. We can see that 7 is already in the row, so this must be a 2, completing that row. And this big square is missing a 7. And basically, you just keep building up and following these rules until you complete the whole Sudoku. I think that one of the most useful things you're going to get from making the notes is, for example, where we had this 1 and the 7 here, this pair, meaning that we know that the remaining squares don't have a 1 or a 7 in it. And that's where making your little notes will be really useful when you come to complete more complicated Sudoku. Right, so I'm going to pause this here and I'm going to leave the rest of the Sudoku for you to solve on your own.